Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series that we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing True Detective Season 4, and today we are past the halfway point. We are on episode 4, and we are joined by two friends of the pod. You know them already, Pat and Nate. They're here with us to continue on this wonderful little journey. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hey, I'm Nate. Excited to be here and see if we can find our way out of this night country we're apparently all in.
Hey, I'm Pat, homie of the pod. Let's just get into it.
All right, so...
That was going to be my other intro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of feelings today to air and share with the group. So if you haven't watched episode 4 yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of this episode. Okay, Sarah, kick us off with an IMDb summary for episode 4.
Navarro takes Julia to a local facility when her mental health issues resurface, promising improvement. Danvers and Navarro locate where Annie was killed. Danvers severely punishes Leah for protesting.
I love that that bit's in there. Like, key plot point. All right. Let's start off with our episode titles of choice for episode 4. And we're going to start with Sarah. Share your episode title.
Mine is Christmas Eve.
I will share mine next because mine is A Very Ennis Christmas. All right. Nate?
Mine is Gray Skin Spooky Jump Scare.
Pat?
Mine is, like others. First, I'm going to go home because it's Christmas Eve.
Okay, let's dive in, shall we, to episode 4. In the spirit of our previous episodes, quick temp check. Let's go around. Quick pulse. How are we feeling? I think we've got a lot of feelings today, is my guess. So let's start with Nate.
Me?
Yes, we're going to start with you.
Oof. This season is like the memory of a show, and that memory is fading. It is, not very good. The past 2 episodes have, I think, been especially truly wild. It's been like 55 minutes of nearly nothing happening, and then far too much happening in like the ending 5 minutes. It's extremely boring. A lot of this one just like slid right off the side of my brain, I think. It was like, I got to a point and I was like, okay, that feels like a good place to end the episode. And I think there was like 25 minutes left.
I had 2 of those moments too, where I was like, all right, this is where we're going to end.
No way. I had to keep bringing up the scrubbing bar at the bottom to be like, okay, all right, I could do this. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, I think this is the weakest episode of this season so far. And yeah, I feel similar to a lot of what Nate said. I think one of I have a couple of things about this show. The first is that it feels very like disjointed to me, and every episode seems like focused on something that doesn't seem to really like connect with everything else. Like we had the one episode that was like, hey, we're in the True Detective universe. And then we had the next episode that was like, hey, let's do some really good character development. But then they never bring that up again. And so then in this one, it's like, oh, I see dead people. Like, oh, okay, cool. That's where we're going now. So I just, this doesn't feel like a cohesive show to me, and I'm not really sure like what we're doing anymore. And there's a lot of threads that they've started, and I don't know that they're going to be able to tie them all up in the remaining 2 episodes. So I'm growing increasingly concerned that this is not going to end well.
Okay. All right. Pat, temp check.
No, you can go.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pat's in rare form today.
So I never thought I would be able to relate to the character Hank, but the thing about getting your hopes up and waiting patiently is that sometimes it doesn't come through. It doesn't come through. So yeah, I'm pissed about this episode. I'm upset. I'm mad. The thing that really bugs me about this episode, particularly, this is my pet peeve in movies and in TV shows, is that you can't do melodrama for the sake of melodrama alone. And that's kind of what I feel like the show is starting to do, is like giving us these really heavy emotional moments with these characters that we're supposed to be investing in. And I'm now invested in them, and they're just like ripping my heart out, and not in a good way. The show seems to be exploring, obviously, the concept of grief and loss, but it doesn't have like anything interesting to say about it. So the thing with having faith is that sometimes when you fall hard. And here I am on the ground in a heap, slowly picking up the rose petals from the bed. So that's where I'm at with the show. Pat, please bless us with your thoughts.
Welcome to the bench, Bernie. Well done on the social media execution, Sarah. I feel like this was the episode. I think what you had to say, Jen, is a good segue into how I feel. I feel like this is the episode where they want you to feel sympathy for damn near every character, and the only one I feel sympathy for is Navarro, and even then, I'm less sympathetic to her and more pissed off at the writers. So, yeah, it's like, I don't feel shit for Hank. I don't care that he got stood up. Like, we're past that. I don't give a shit. Stop showing screen time with him looking all somber and sad, trying to be a granddaddy again. Fuck out of here with that. Then don't even. I mean, we have plenty of time to talk about Danvers and her bipolar. I'm way too proud. Now I'm asking you to have some sympathy for me. Now I'm too proud to get and even Pete.
Oh,
bro,
don't even get me started on Pete.
You need to dig your heels in the ground. Pete. I don't feel bad for you no more. In your self-pity little routine in bed, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. They've somehow managed to make like every character of the show that like could have had a bit of humanity just like paper thin now, which I think is like a fascinating ShamWow that they've been able to accomplish. And the one character that is still right and true, perfect angel, is Kavik, and somehow like he is, yes, continues to be like beautiful, untouchable, kind-hearted, knows how to like dole out some tough love when he needs to, knows how to be like just perfect human on all fronts. So
The Shining knows how to pull on your heartstrings so he can reset your finger.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think that like the other thought that I had while watching this episode in particular was that like it feels like such a rehash of all of the themes that we know about every character and their like core challenges, struggles that are just like are being rehashed again. So it feels like this episode's written by ChatGPT because we fed in all of our past episodes and we're basically doing the same things again. Like we need the characters to grow or change or at least have a different struggle if they're gonna struggle, like I don't. Then we didn't even get to the horror, jump scare, mythological, spiritual stuff, which they're like full on in now. And I think part of the fun of episode 3 was like they're creeping there, but it's a little bit of a tease, and that's part of the fun part. You're like, oh, you're gonna go there, you're not gonna go there. Like I don't know, but we're kind of implying it. We're creeping our way there, but like they are full on in that territory, and it's only episode 4. Like that's what I would expect for maybe the finale where they really show us all the ghosts coming back to life again. But nope, here we are, episode 4, and we get it all already. So that whole bit I thought was fascinating, that they're full on dedicated and all in on the spirit stuff.
Hit us with some thoughts, Sarah. I can see them all over your face.
I mean, it's just what we've already talked about. I think there's a way to incorporate all of this stuff and all of that, but I almost need it to be like weirder more consistently. Like I need the like mythological or the spiritual stuff or even the horror stuff to almost be dialed up more than what we're getting, because I feel like some of the episodes it's been like fairly normal and like, oh, there's a few like weird things happening, and then all of a sudden we're at like I see dead people and jump scares and all of that, and it's just like, what happened to this show? Like, when did we decide that we wanted to stop being a murder mystery, we wanted to stop being a character study, and we decided that we just wanted to be like B-list horror? Like, why? How did we get here? What was the choice? It just, I don't know. None of it makes sense to me, the way this is all fitting together.
It's so weird. All the like mid 2000s jump scares, I was like, what is happening?
I think that they pre-sold Julia's death too heavily. Like as soon as they did the long shot where Navarro was looking down the hallway, I was like, Julia's done. She's done for. Like that's the last time she's gonna see her. They baited this too heavily. And then what do you know? Motherfucking Orange comes rolling out between her feet, and I was just like, yeah, I'm here for it because I hate everything about it. Oh, we got bodies under the bed? Yeah, let's go. I can't even stand up right now, but let's get it.
There were a fair amount of moments that made me burst out laughing, and the Orange rolling out from under the bed was definitely one of them.
Yeah, we get some polar bears. Our homegirl exacting her revenge. She's here. She's awake.
Her is awake. And didn't someone say, was it you, Nate, last time? What's the over and under on the polar bear coming back, or is that like a throwaway thing? As soon as the Orange came out, I was like, if I can just get some amount of polar bear in this episode. I'm pretty sure that scene happened, and I like paused it because I was tired and just like rolled over and then came back to the rest of the episode later, literally laughing out loud. And not only it wasn't even a glimpse. That motherfucker's over here breathing on the window, you know, making sure you can see the eye. Like I was eating that up because it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We're here for this polar bear content, you know?
Which is like, if that was just there for like, you know, texture, okay. But then they try and connect it to like Holden and Danvers' child, that whole scene, and you're like, you can't do this to us, you know? Like, you can't make something that feels so gimmicky also have all this emotional ties without like playing that out well. Like, I ain't here for this.
I also like that we've been chasing the other scientist guy for this entire season, but somehow we get introduced to Otis and we meet Otis within like 12 minutes.
Yeah, where the fuck did this guy come from? How did he make it into the script? What is his purpose? Do we not have a character that can serve this purpose? Like, we have so many already.
Yes.
They can do more than one thing. People are multifaceted creatures.
Well, also they like the speed with which they discover all of these things. Like they go to once again, our favorite geology teacher, the local geology high school teacher, you know, and like one little search, and then all of a sudden like the name pops up.
That was gold. I love that. I love that it was fucking Google. It was Google on his screen. It wasn't even like something that only he has access to or anything clever that he did. He just Googled the caves.
Also, can we just acknowledge like the amount of jockeying they did with using Christmas Eve as like a pivot point was just done, and like it was just done so poorly. Because at first it's like Danvers is like, I don't care that it's Christmas Eve. And then she's telling homeboy to go do this, put out APBs, and then that. We're learning that the rest of the police force is still out looking, even though it's Christmas Eve. Then her daughter gets in trouble and she's looking for Grace because it's Christmas Eve. Then she talks to Navarro and she's like, it's Christmas Eve, go home. Like, what are you using to justify who gets to enjoy Christmas Eve and who doesn't? Because it makes no sense and there's no pattern.
Yeah, it's this episode's version of asking the right questions is what it is. It's this episode's drinking game.
So what?
Little companion, interactive activity for the watch along.
I don't understand what is the rush? Like, what is the urgency? Like, like in season 1, they had just as much pressure, and it was like, all right, tomorrow we'll go check out like the bunny ranch. Like, it's not like we're working through the night on Christmas Eve. I don't understand the time pressure and like when it gets applied and when it doesn't get applied.
I thought it was like a missed opportunity to explore Danvers' character more, because I read her choices around like bullying Pete and like making him work late and all of that stuff, calling him at 3 a.m., all of that crap as like her exerting control and like wanting to like dominate everyone and everything around her so that she has some sense of like stability, like when things get out of control, she seeks to control and dominate everything. And that's just part of her personality. And I wish that the show, if that's what it's trying to do, actually like committed to that and like made those choices that she's making reflect on her character rather than just be this like random thing that she's not applying evenly, or the show has nothing really to say about it. It just, I don't know, it doesn't mean anything. And I think that that's a waste because it could be a character growth or development moment.
Also, too, like, not that it would have necessarily changed my fundamental opinion of Hank, but like, I feel like there's moments, where it's like Hank, when he's yelling in the background on the phone, could have been like, I'll go. Like, you go home to your family. And I would have been like, holy shit, Hank. Maybe now I feel one rose petal more of sympathy for you than I did like 4 episodes ago.
Yeah. It's like, I got nothing to do. He's got a family. All right, I guess I'll go home and clean up the rose petals.
Well, what I love about that scene is
you couldn't square the circle on that one. You couldn't put 2 and 2 together.
Well, he picks up the rose petals like one by one too. I think that the show's just using the whole Christmas Eve thing as like a gimmicky way to get it to like paint the portrait of like how isolated everyone in this town is. Like they're all alone on Christmas Eve. And this just like, it's like this mood piece of this like end of the world. Ennis is the end of the world and all these people are at the end of the world too and at their wits' end. And like, but like it just feels cheap. It just like, it feels like a cheap way to like get us to feel something.
And now maybe we're in some other realm that we're calling the Night Country, and like Navarro's got a popped eardrum. What?
Yeah.
Also, Navarro's over here exclaiming that she's next. How? Why? Like,
it's a curse.
But how does she know she's next?
Because they're calling to her. The spirits. The dead are calling to her.
Because she told you. That's what good story writing is.
Oh,
tell, don't
you're
show.
Right. You're right. You're right. And I'm thinking about this like abandoned ship. Of course it has a Christmas tree with a car battery that's seated in a tire. Because that's exactly where someone would put their effort and energy into if they were like hiding out on an abandoned tanker ship in the ice.
Because Christmas Eve. And knock it back.
Mm-hmm. That was another hilarious moment. Like this tweaker hiding out on this ship that's like, I'm going to decorate a Christmas tree.
Danvers also getting totally blasted and then deciding, you know what's a good idea? Booty calling my boss. Even though we said we'd never do this again because the world revolves around me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first thing she does is roll in and insult the man because he's what, whitening his teeth? Like, Jesus.
Well, we also add one more to the collection of like home wrecking that she's done. There's like another one. I'm like, man, do you want us to like this character? Like, aren't we supposed to at least, even if they're kind of shitty, but like still feel something towards them or we want to follow them? But like, man, another one?
We got 2 episodes to wrap up a storyline that just keeps getting spread thinner and thinner and further away from being wrapped up, and also getting to a point where we feel any type of like appreciation, sympathy, whatever for Danvers, and that keeps getting further away. Like, I don't know how we're gonna do it unless they're like, psych, it's actually an 8-episode season, we just didn't announce that there'd be 2 more until after the fact.
It's gonna have to go at like a Herculean pace at the end. It's just gonna be like the 30 minutes of montage wrap up.
Dude, her is gonna be galloping across the ice as fast as she can. Also, Nate, how stressed out were you the whole time that Navarro was in Rose's house for Christmas dinner? Because I was like, I bet Nate is stressing the hell out that some Rust Cole thing is about to be dropped, because we're talking about her past life and this and that.
Yep.
Oh, that there's going to be a mention. I didn't even think of it.
Really?
I was
Wow.
checked out. Yeah. It's like it's. I don't know. I think Matthew McConaughey could show up at this point and just like just sit in a chair and tell me what happens in like the last 2 episodes, and that's like what they are. And it would like, it's just so bad. Like, they can't ruin the first season. Like, it's silly. It's like this. It's like the Star Wars Christmas special. It's like, well, just forget that it happened.
I'm loving this narrative arc of Nate's feelings over the course of the last. We start from like, okay, this is terrible, but like maybe just foundation laying. Episode 2's like, get my dude's name out of your mouth. Season 4. 3 is like, oh, okay, we're starting to laugh a little. 4 is like, it's just all silly.
Yeah. Polar bear at this point.
I'm still praying that he comes out of the dark on the polar bear with like a bag of oranges over his shoulder, or he's juggling them, whatever.
Yeah, me too. At this point.
Yeah, that sounds great. Honestly, like that would honestly I think would be a better way to end this show. Like, can we just get some levity, some fun,
some
joy.
Yeah. I really wonder how the show is originally pitched, because like it goes from detective story to like we aren't even really like trying to focus on this case that much anymore. Like, I feel like there's not that much detecting.
All the case progress is happening off screen over radio. That's what the case is happening.
It's like last 5 minutes
of the way through this true detective story, there hasn't been a single interview. They
last
haven't
5
interviewed a
minutes
single suspect.
55-minute episode. Pete calls, because it's always Pete calling with a new breakthrough.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Next episode.
I did read
with an image.
Yeah. I did read
that looked like it was taken in fucking broad daylight.
Even though it's
a shadow.
Even though it's night country. I did read 2 things.
This episode was so sloppy.
One was that this episode actually had ratings that were lower than some episodes of season 2, which was like a notable.
I believe it. I've never seen season 2, but I believe it.
I can't imagine it being worse.
And then the other thing was, where the fuck did the Coast Guard come from? We're doing all this searching for bodies, and we have a full Coast Guard staff that's out and about, able to find drowned sisters. Like,
honestly, the most supernatural thing that happened on the show. Spotting Julia's body
within like 3
in the
hours.
Dark Alaskan Ocean, and then identifying her next of kin when she was found completely naked is nothing short of a Christmas miracle.
That was more supernatural than her floating in the ice boat.
Yeah, far more.
Man, what else? We got some detectives and car scenes again, and they fumble. They fumble again. Like, all right, here we are, round 2, our second chance to get some great dialogue between these two. And like, they have nothing interesting to say about the theme. They didn't even introduce a new theme in that conversation. It's the same theme.
I feel like
previously.
I feel like that was another one of those moments where they were like, "This is how we're going to get people to emotionally connect to Danvers." No. Sorry, I don't. I won't, and I shouldn't.
I don't, I won't, and I shouldn't. Great summary.
Still no God, though. Mm-hmm.
Still no God.
End scene.
It's almost better if they just don't try to do the like philosophical stuff, because I really do feel like if you're called the same thing as a piece of work that has done that really well, like either just differentiate, like we're full on mythological horror thrills, like we're not trying to be heady and intellectual and philosophical at all. Just stay away, like we know they did it well, like we're not even gonna try. That's their territory. We got a new one over here. But like they kind of try and do a little bit. I'm like, nothing interesting to say. It's amazing. Well, ChatGPT written,
That's not something you can like dip your toe in.
Right.
Like that doesn't work. Like to your point, you either go all in or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we've not known if we're all in until potentially the last 3 minutes of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, great, we're all in. Now the oranges make sense.
Well, and I think with those car scenes too, like Danvers ends up just feeling more like a bully too. Like I feel like the kind of banter that you get in season 1 between Marty and Rust is difficult to achieve, especially like belief is such a personal thing. And so like when somebody is like I pray and I believe and all of this, and then the other person is just shitting on that person for what they believe, like that's a very fine line to walk and have that come off okay. And this season is not doing that. So we've already seen Danvers is just a bully and manipulative and mean and all of these things. And so then in the car, she's just continuing to be manipulative and mean and a bully. So it's just so wasted. And all of those are just painful to watch.
This season's got Sarah complimenting season 1.
That's how bad this season is. Like, if I have to say something good about season 1, which is far superior to this, I just didn't like it. Like, this season is not good.
Somewhere in the credits of season 4 episodes, it's the one Nate Belisle's name written as one of the funding producers of season 4. It's all part of the plan, Sarah, to get you on. See it? It all comes full circle, like the little spiral, We're all looping back around.
It's 5D chess.
I didn't even think about it like that. That's wild. That's so wild.
Sarah's like, I gave you an inch, y'all are taking a mile.
Is this going to end in a True Detective gauntlet where we do the other 2 seasons and then we do a 1 verse 2 verse 3 verse 4, just rank all the seasons?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? We could have 5 by the time we're able to get all those recorded. So
because the capitalist machine is alive and well.
Always.
Because here we are watching it because it's called True Detective. They got us. They got it good.
It's wild because I didn't realize that only like the first episode or 2 were out when we talked about recording this season. I thought that like half, I didn't know that it was 6 episodes. I thought it was probably 8 and that like half of them were out. I thought there had to be some substantial amount of meat for all these reviews it was getting saying, oh my God, it's a return to form and all this and that. So by the time we sat down and it was like, I've heard all that, like I've seen the headlines, there's only 2 episodes out. And now it's like, we're 2 episodes beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, how far we've fallen. Or, oh, how much we overinflated.
It is still so highly rated. It is a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
From critics. Yeah.
Desperation.
It has a higher Rotten Tomato score, I did my homework, than Breaking Bad season 1.
No.
The Wire season 1,
Wow.
Mad Men season 1, Succession
No.
season 1,
That's criminal.
Scenes from a
It's
Marriage,
criminal.
the entire run of Sopranos, the entire run of You, and it has a higher Rotten Tomato score than True Detective season 1.
Wow.
The personal dagger to your
A
heart.
lot of those are old shows. Let's compare it to some of its contemporaries. I don't watch too much TV, but it has a higher than or equal Rotten Tomato score to half of the Best Picture nominees this year. It is a higher score than Barbie, a higher score than Zone of Interest, a higher score than Poor Things, and it is tied with Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer.
What a time to be alive.
I'm impressed by
Yeah.
your research.
How does
well
that
done.
happen? This is the real mystery. This is what I want True Detectives to be researching. Like, come and investigate this. I want bank statements, emails, call logs, all the information on all these critics giving this a positive score. Because I'm sure Zab's love is all over that.
Wow. This reminds me,
Wow.
this makes me wonder if there was this whole thing that came about before streaming music like became the primary means of people consuming music. Back when like iTunes and buying like MP3s was still a thing. And there was this like conspiracy, and I think it was proven that it was true, that like a record label would release someone's single and then buy like 100,000 copies, like 100,000 downloads to inflate so that it would be at the top of all the charts and it would catch that wave of momentum and just like keep riding. I wonder if there's some other, things at play behind the scenes that we don't know, that we can't see, that is inflating this critical Rotten Tomatoes score that is thus making probably way more people than would ever give a shit
To
watch this season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some genius marketing. If that's the case, like, hell yeah, like, good job, because you've gotten so many people engaged. I love how we're like, surely there's got to be a conspiracy for why the masses are loving this. We believe in humanity, it surely can't be true.
It makes me feel like I'm going insane.
And I bet you this is somehow intersected with the Super Bowl, because I guarantee, here's my next conspiracy hypothesis.
Go.
That if it did end up being the TRL Bowl with Carson Daly himself having to be on the sidelines because it was Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team versus Eminem's team, I bet you they wouldn't have done the pre-release like they are this weekend with episode 5. But because there's less stakes in capitalism going into Sunday, maybe they were like, we'll get some screen time from people.
They've run all their little numbers, their projections, all their inputs to their models.
I was just going to share some other numbers with you. I don't know that this will make you feel better, but on IMDb, I've noticed that the star ratings for every episode are increasingly decreasing. So like even the first episode, the stars used to be much higher than they are right now. So like episode 1 is rated 7.4 stars. These are all out of 10. Episode 2, 7.3. Then episode 3, 6.7. Episode 4, 6.4. And even episode 4 was higher like 2 days ago, the last time I looked. So it's interesting. Like whoever is logging on IMDb is not enjoying this show as much as others. So I think this is another one of those interesting cases of like critics maybe versus the masses. But even the way that that's being divided is interesting to me. So I do think that there's some research to be done behind this show and how different people are receiving it and why.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you have to take Rotten Tomatoes and ratings in general with a giant swag. I feel like the last accurate Rotten Tomatoes score I saw was resulting May 15th of 2015. And ever since then, it's just been a jumble of crap. But, plus or minus 30 points, you're in the right ballpark. And I think you got some. Yeah. The same can be said for IMDb.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a flawed metric, but I couldn't help but look at it.
By the way, Nate, do you recall what was May 15th, 2015?
No. Was that Mad Max?
Sure was.
Good movie.
Great movie.
Wait, was there a Rotten Tomatoes situation with that one?
It was more that like when you watched the trailer, it just looked like it was going to be a popcorn movie. And then I remember when we were getting ready to see it, one of our friends was like, "This has a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes with a good amount of reviews." And that was perplexing of it in itself. And then we went and saw it, and it was like, this movie is fantastic. And
I think it was 100, actually. I think it was 100, and it was like one of the rare movies that had 100, which is why it was such a phenomenon with like so many reviews. It was like that and like Toy Story and like a handful of others.
Gotcha. I think it finished high 90s, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, season 5. So I'm just gonna jump right into what I want to see more of looking ahead. Sorry, Jen, I know you introduced.
Go for it.
I feel like we've
take us on it. Yeah.
already drained what we spent 55 minutes just palling around, not getting any substance out of. So I want to see her attack a human being. I still want to see Matthew McConaughey. And
what is her to you? Is her the polar bear? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
They woke her up. That's why she's wandering around.
Because she's
right.
That's confirmed in your mind?
I mean, after this episode, might as well just keep on the path. She's back.
I thought the her was the orange, whatever.
Oh,
it's probably all the same her at this point.
Pronouns her, that, them. And I want Danvers to get her ass whooped the way that Navarro did.
Yeah. That Navarro scene made me pissed. I'm like, you can't make us watch this. And like, no, I reject this. Like one of the most beloved characters in the show. Just like, you can't do that to us, okay? Melodrama for the sake of melodrama. Like, cheat. It's cheap. That scene was like,
yeah, it was so heavy-handed.
You know what you're doing. I see it. And it's working. And I'm mad that it's working. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's over here missing teeth or a tooth now. And all Danvers can say is, what happened to his face? But more importantly, why are you wearing boots in the house? Read a situation.
I didn't see the missing tooth. Was that real?
Was that real?
Havoc calls
it. The question for everything that happens. Was that real?
I know he says it. You're missing a tooth. But I was like looking, and then I got distracted, and I didn't pay that close attention. I didn't see a missing tooth.
I noticed it in that scene with Kavik, but I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
It didn't jump out to me in the other scenes with Danvers when they went to explore the ship.
It's usually one of those things like humans will like instantly notice. And I remember going back and be like, didn't she lose a tooth? And then like I rewound it, and then I didn't see it, and I forgot about it again.
Maybe that was what was waiting for her under the Christmas tree. She just popped it in. Santa left it.
The her is the tooth fairy.
And her ear blew out. Yeah.
All right. Other laugh out loud moments of the episode, anyone? I love that she has her husband in her phone as Pryor. That was I burst out laughing. I was like, this is the laziest shit ever. Like, you either think your audience is like 8-year-olds or like you just weren't paying attention. That was amazing. Yeah, I guess we can talk about the ending also. They're all in the night country now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something else that's funny though is Hank getting catfished. I think is hilarious, and so like him standing there waiting at the plane, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, this is so funny that he got catfished. But then the score is like so tender and evocative, and I'm like, no, you are not trying to get me to feel
Yes.
bad for this man who sucks. Like,
Yep.
no, stop
Yes.
that. Get that out of here. What a mess.
This episode was like, I don't know, it's like sorrow porn.
Oh my
It just
gosh,
like wants you
yeah.
to feel bad for every character.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
It was so bad. It's just like it's like the whole thing
So
is
heavy.
like underscored by like sad montage music.
I'm like, you're only allowed to be existential and like play in that territory if you know how to like cut it with some like levity and playfulness, which is what I think like the first season does quite well. Is it has the emotional intelligence to like cover some big topics, but like it's bouncing along as we're going, you know, and there's levity baked in there together, and it has the ability to do that. This is like one tone, just heavy. Like I'm like, oh, get me out of here. I also want to leave Venice. Which is just interesting to me because I feel like the first 3 episodes, like that was the thing that I was most engaged with, is like, show me more of this world. And now I'm like, I've seen it and I don't want to be here anymore. Time to leave.
Also, there was so much emphasis on we're not losing the case, it's ours. And then very matter-of-factly, yeah, the bodies are going to Anchorage. NBD, no big deal. Oh well. And it's like, we had to look at that like ice sculpture for so many minutes through the first 3 episodes. And now it's just gone. And we know nothing. We know what the vet told us. That's it.
The vet. Yes.
That's true. That happened at the beginning of the episode. We got no further information.
And I think that's
They've paid off nothing
completely
so
abandoned
far.
the case.
Like they just keep creating questions.
yeah, and like doing things and like making a big deal about it, and then it's either never brought up again or nothing comes of it. Like, what are we doing here, folks? This is not what we do. Because if you're going to fight to keep the corpsicle, we need something important to happen with the corpsicle. But it was just a mood piece decorating their hockey rink for a few days. Like, what was the point?
Which I learned today that Guillermo del Toro and a bunch of his production people helped design that, and I was very pleased by that little detail. That like,
oh really?
Did
yeah,
that's
that makes me so sad.
I know. It actually does look great. I'm like,
fact.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a great visual piece.
I mean,
yeah, I was just thinking, like, you know, that could have been a really cool thing in a Guillermo del Toro movie.
that's his like specialty. Oh, that's too bad that it got weighted on an ice rink just to be sent to Anchorage. Also, can we? They like try to open up threads of possibility and potential in terms of like relationship development, and then they just piss them away. Case in point, Danvers and Kate McKittrick standing outside like the miners' HQ. Danvers and Leia in the car. Like, all of those could have been expounded on much more than, well, at all, because they weren't. Like, those two could have had a standoff out there of any kind. I would have been like, yeah, I'm here for this. I've been waiting for this. You know, this is the genesis of the corpse. Like, I've been waiting on this one. But no, instead of she just looked at her for an extra few seconds before she said, okay, let the girl go. And I pity Danvers, which she doesn't deserve any pity. Kate McKittrick shouldn't have done that. She should have punched her in the face and been like, maybe I'll press charges tomorrow. Merry Christmas. And walked away. And then just Leia, and basically she just packs a bag and leaves. And like, are we ever going to go any deeper on the fact that she refuses to let her like lean into her culture and like her people's heritage? Like, are we just going to keep it just at that high level of surface level? We're not going any deeper with it ever?
Which was like a great little arc of episode 3, which is that we saw Leia begin to like understand and go deeper into her culture and get like activated, and then they just completely abandoned it because like the show like doesn't really have focus. It's kind of all like scatterbrained. But that would have been such a natural way to like continue to dive into that, and then like with the miners and all that kind of stuff. Which the miners thing, is that going to ever come to fruition? I don't know. They keep mentioning it. Feels like a little bit of a tease. I'm like waiting for that too. We don't get any of that this episode.
We've already been introduced to a handful of them. Was that their like only screen time?
Yeah.
At that point, why not have just had them yelling shit over a radio? Would have saved them some money.
We get a short little moment of respite with Rose, who is an absolute vision in that scene. Also, I mean, she's doing Christmas Eve right, but like that scene doesn't really like go anywhere emotionally either. Like we're just like, oh, remember our friend? Yes, we remember her. I don't know if they're gonna like have that payoff later, where like Rose somehow does something interesting.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. That had no purpose. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it because she seems like, I don't know, the only person enjoying themselves, like, in the entire city, other than Kavik when he's fishing. But it was like, I don't know, she just kind of like waxed poetic about nothing, about her past, and then scene ended.
Yep.
So, okay. Why?
Just
sure.
palling around.
On to the next one.
All right. Any other thoughts about this episode before we give out some awards?
Pete's little outburst. You didn't want to keep the baby and I ruined your life. That shit was completely out of left field. It's like something I'd expect to hear in like an SNL skit for like how wild it is. It's like, what do you even... This is not set up at all.
No. The only reason she would have any gripe with you is because you won't sack up and say no to your boss and set some boundaries.
Yeah,
I've got
like,
no indication at all that you were having a child with him.
Wait.
That was another kind of burst out laugh moment. Like, what? If Oreos are $20, how much are rose petals?
That's a good question.
That's not a big deal, but it crossed my mind. I was like, man, those must have been expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't feel bad for Hank. Also, they got one like one TV channel. Everybody's watching Elf.
That was a little strange. Why Elf?
Aren't they both like Warner
And
Brothers?
I show like close-ups of it too.
Yeah, they made a big deal about Elf.
Like,
The worst kind of marketing, because it's both of the like slimy older dudes that are watching it too, alone on Christmas. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch Elf under those conditions. You know?
North Pole, Elf is going to come in the last episode hand in hand with McConaughey. Will Ferrell, I'm here for it.
It's like the multiverses are like colliding with each other.
Like, there's no intentional laughs in this episode. Like, why Elf? Why not like, I don't know, It's a Wonderful Life or something like that.
And
like,
all the sad
something
parts in that
more
movie.
serious and melancholy. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just kept showing me Elf, and I was like, I mean, I like Elf, but why?
Well, I'm impressed that the show has managed to somehow hit all of our unique pet peeves all at once. It's really like quite amazing. There's the bad dialogue served just for Nate. There's some like really terrible lazy detecting just for Sarah. There's some mythological horror for Pat and some purposeless melodrama. Finally, for me, that I am now fully on this side of the table.
I
held
couldn't
out
ask
for a while. I held out some hope, but
You did. I couldn't ask for a better crew to be on this journey with.
yeah, we're dropping like flies when it comes to the warmth that we have for the show. Two of us were cautious at the beginning. Episode 3 really did you in, Pat?
Yeah.
2, you were having a good time. You were like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious out of pity. I'm like, well, made it this friggin' far. Might as well see it out.
It's definitely a morbid curiosity at this point.
Yeah. Like I just want to actually watch the next 2 hours so I can make sure that her's okay at the end, whether her ends up as the orange or the bear.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's give out some awards, shall we? Best character clue. Sarah, go first.
I'm gonna give this to Pete because he has an interesting shaped Rubik's Cube on his desk. And so if he's choosing to spend his time with that interesting shaped Rubik's Cube, he's probably very intelligent, but maybe isn't great on the social skills part. And maybe that's why he's unable to stand up to Danvers. I'm trying to Pete, what is going on inside of your brain? I'm trying just grasping at straws here to understand you and why you will not stand up to your boss. So I'm thinking one part of his brain is more fully developed than the social skills part.
Pat, what's your character clue? Award recipient of choice.
Oh, it's got to be Danvers.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically when her boss is like, you were telling people that they were bad at their job. And she's like, well, they were bad at their job. And it's like, you don't have to be an attack dog all the time. Like, why do you just keep getting worse and worse, as a human being interacting with other human beings?
Yeah, this one doesn't do much for her. I feel like 3, she really warmed up. Or she warmed a little. They gave her some warmth. They gave her some humanity. There was three great moments for her, and this one they just run backwards about 15 steps.
But Jen, she says please 2 whole times in this episode. I mean, she can't be all bad. She said please twice.
Wait, I got it. I'm going to do that thing where I'm going to figure out how we get to a certain point again.
All right. Ready.
Because she's a philandering louse, I want her to get more wasted in the next episode than she did in this one. And I want her to go hook up with Hank's sorry ass. And I want Pete to lay into her. Oh. Maybe that's how she gets her ass whooped. Maybe Kate McKittrick's there and she's like, you can't do this to Pete. And then she whoops her ass. I don't know. And then I have more reason to hate both Hank and Danvers.
I like it. I don't put it past the show to do that kind of melodramatic stuff. I believe it. All right, Nate, what's your character clue of choice?
Pass. Award revoked due to lack of submissions. This is...
Dead.
I did legitimately forget that this was an award. I just totally forgot. But yeah, I can do it on the spot. Let's see. Let's do the the receptionist at the volunteer center. I think that shows that he has a lot of patience putting up with that. Nothing happened this episode. There's no award for this one.
I was thinking earlier while we were talking, when we were like, people are multifaceted.
I like how Sarah gave the award to set decoration. That was brilliant. I didn't even think of that.
Sometimes you gotta get creative.
The award went to a Rubik's Cube.
Honestly, my other contender for this episode was that Ted watered the one dead plant in Danvers' office. I was grasping at straws here for clues. I'm going with you, Nate.
That's another good one. I forgot. I was the fact that their characters kind of slid off my brain, I think.
Okay, so for next episode, we'll do the best LOL awards.
Wait, what was your develop? Oh, I see. Well, Jen, what's your character development?
Oh, my character clue was, it's really bad when you're sipping vodka. Neat. Danvers sipping vodka. Just, she's just roughing it.
Yeah.
You know what I think would have been more interesting? I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about Otis, who we knew about for all of 10 minutes before we meet him.
Yeah.
And Nate, you were like, people are multifaceted. That could have been someone else. How interesting would that have been if that was Kavik on the ship? Because we have this image of, we would have been like, oh my God, what is Kavik doing there? He's supposed to be taking care of dogs. But no, they didn't shove it Jeremy Nashville in our throat.
Honestly,
I don't know if I meant Kavik, but sure.
At this point.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned because Kavik is the gem of this show, and I'm like, what are you gonna do to this one person who is universally liked? Like, you're gonna do something bad to him, and then I'm gonna be upset because he's the hero right now.
Yeah, we see how
I thought it was gonna be Pete.
Yeah, we see how they did Pete real dirty. Like, he was somewhat sympathetic for so long, and they just throw him all of us with that scene. What were you gonna say, Nate?
Exactly that. Yeah.
All right. Best burn. Nate, do you have a submission in this category?
Yeah. I loved the line, "You should see the other guy." That's my word for like cliche hilarious. It's just, I was like, keep going, show. I'm getting up and getting another drink.
Sarah?
Mine's not a burn, but when Rose says to Navarro, all of Santa's elves drowned in global warming. That's nice.
That was
my
mine.
other one. That was my second choice.
That was mine too.
And the rest are meth heads.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Rose is cool. I like her.
That moment when we nearly all have the same line for our choice. The one good line in this whole episode. Wow. One submission, one winner. But Pat, what did you choose for best burn?
I chose maybe you didn't pray hard enough, because that was like their greatest attempt at giving Danvers some humanity, and they missed the mark. And I was like, yeah, let's end this punchy. I'm here for this.
Well, and then nearly like most of those conversations end with them just being like, well, F you, and then end scene. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Single one. Okay, looking ahead. Pat, you shared a little bit about what you want to see next.
Wait, what was your line?
Oh, it's all of Santa's elves drown in global warming.
Okay.
The one.
All right. Confirm it. Just confirm.
Great line. Yeah.
I mean, I already said mine.
We always end these episodes struggling. We're like, an award for someone? Something?
I want to make sure that her gets out okay, and I want to see Danvers gets her ass whooped. And at this point, I want it to be all of the wives of the men she's hooked up with to like triple team her the way Navarro got triple team.
Oh, it's like Ghosts of Girlfriends Past meets Ennis Alaska.
Right.
Okay. Sarah, what do you want to see?
Again, this is blank in my notes. So I would like to see more of the polar bear. I would like to see the polar bear attack somebody, because that would be interesting. I did wonder, like, are we going to, because Danvers mentioned previously that she's on Tinder, so is something going to happen with that? And she hooks up with Hank or somebody she shouldn't, and then she gets her ass kicked, you know? So like, I'm tracking with some of these ideas. I want Kavik to not be a bad guy, and I want nothing bad to happen to him. And Rose is pretty cool, so let's spend some more time with her and less time with some other people who we dislike. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Full send. Nate, what would you like to see?
I'm looking forward to Scooby-Doo pulling the mask off the one-eyed polar bear and hearing Danvers and Navarro in unison say, "Kate McKittrick, the mine owner?" And then she says, "And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for these meddling true detectives." And scene. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Wow. Amazing. I had more fun
Perfect
listening to that ending of the story than I did the entire episode. I just wrote fun. That's just what I want. I just want like a little, like any little bit of like just something. This episode was so heavy. Like, I think I like heaved a sigh of relief at the end of it. It's just a lot emotionally, like visually, just a lot. So I would like for the next episode to not be so heavy, please. That's all.
I think it's just, I don't know. I'm completely on the other side of it. Like, it is irredeemable to me. So like, I probably shouldn't be reviewing it anymore, but I'm just going to have a good time seeing where it goes.
Sit back with your popcorn and your snacks. Be like, all right,
Yeah,
take me on a journey.
exactly. I used to think it was a tragedy. Now I know it's a comedy.
All right, any other last thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm going to leave the audience with a question until next week. Why is it that when people are going to die on the ice, they fold their clothes?
That's not the right question.
Well, good thing we got 2 episodes left to figure out what the right questions are.
All right.
There's so many questions. I don't know how they're going to pay them off.
Yeah.
Like, we need to start aggregating them.
Yeah. We're running out of show. All right, well, this was our review and discussion of episode 4. You can find it available on Max. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. And we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey through True Detective Season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a review and letting us know your thoughts about episode 4 and what you want to see next. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at tvnspod or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We will be back next week to review episode 5 as we continue our journey. We hope you have an amazing week, and we will talk again soon.